Hello and welcome to another edition of Go Pound Salt's Cooking with Saltware. Today we're going to show you wild sockeye salmon from the Kenai Peninsula that has been crusted in our own Simple Seasonings original blend of herbs and spices. We're also going to show you Hachiya Persimmons that have been glazed in triple sec and Desert Wildflower Honey, as well as baby wild asparagus. So we're going to begin with our salmon today. I'm going to show you very quickly. We've been careful to pull all the bones out of these sections of the salmon. You're going to have little fingerling bones that are going to be in there running one way or another. Pull all of those out with a pair of tweezers, then drop the Simple Seasoning spice rub on the flesh side only. We're going to go ahead and put a glove on so that we can transfer the fish from the plate to the block. That way we don't worry about foodborne illness and contamination. I'm going to begin by actually placing the salmon flesh side down. We want to do a quick sear for about 30 to 45 seconds for meats that are of this thickness, for salmon that's about this thick. We just want to sear it long enough that the herbs will start to push the oils and the infusion of the oils into the flesh. Sear the flesh itself so that it prevents moisture from escaping when we flip it over. You can hear everything sizzling nicely. We're going to give that just a few more seconds. And the beauty of cooking salmon with skin on and cooking it in this fashion is that after you've seared the flesh, you've trapped the herbs between the flesh and the salt block, the moisture prevents the herbs from burning. Then when you flip it over and you cook it skin side down, it's very similar to cooking steak with the tallow or with the fat on. All of the flavor that is wild-caught salmon really comes from the subcutaneous fat layer that is just below the skin here. So when we flip it over, we'll actually see the meat tighten up, we'll see the skin tighten up, and then the fats that are just under the skin and below the flesh will actually bubble up through the flesh of the salmon and provide additional flavor. So you can see it's searing very nicely. You can see what's happening right along the edge here. We're going to go ahead and take that back piece. We're going to gently slide under it. Make sure that it pulls off of the block nicely because we don't want to tear it at all. Looks like that's good. And then we're going to flip it over. So a nice, gentle, almost poached look on that piece of salmon. That's exactly what we want. Then you can actually see it starting to shrink when it's skin side down. So we're going to go ahead and do that with the other two pieces here. You can see that all of the herbs actually stay on the flesh, which is what we want. And you see the skin starting to split, or the flesh starting to split a little bit here. That's okay. We'll pull our third piece up. You can see the popping and snapping that occurs as the fats underneath the flesh actually start to sizzle and dissolve. These wild-caught salmon have been brought to us today by Davy Jones Seafood. They are a local fish purveyor that go to Alaska every year, catch the fish wild-caught in sustainable methods, bring them down here to the sunny Southwest, and allow us to enjoy the benefits of wild-caught fish without the hormones, without the antibiotics, without any of the things that promote more rapid growth that you see in your typical big box stores. So you see everything is progressing nicely. We're going to go ahead and close the lid for a few minutes. We're going to let everything cook off, and we will be back with you shortly. You may find that as you cook with a larger salt block, something in the 8x12 to 8x16 range or larger, that your grill will not heat it entirely evenly. So as you can see, back cooks a little bit faster up through about this point because of the heat of the burners, and the front cooks a little bit slower. That's why we occasionally need to take the fish, and that's the other beauty of cooking it skin side down, if it will come loose here. And need to move it around the block occasionally. That way you can get everything taken care of so that it cooks nice and evenly, which is what we want. So you can hear that sizzling. Those are some of the fats. You can see some of the skin that's left there. We'll go ahead and pull that off. We like to leave that. We like to get that crispy if at all possible. So we try not to move the salmon around too much. But in this case today, we're actually going to want to make sure that we get everything cooked rather than the possibility of undercooked fish. So we're actually going to just leave those sit. Everything seems to be doing reasonably well. That will kind of fold up the skins a little bit, help some of the fats release to the bottom, and help everything crisp up a little bit more. And we'll be back in a couple minutes. So we're going to go ahead and take our salmon off of the grill. When the flesh splits open like this, as we saw earlier, you can actually watch the liquid moisture collect inside the flesh. And when it starts to get that white, totally opaque look, then you know that the meat inside has been perfectly poached and is ready to come off of the block. So we're going to go ahead and pull these up now, make sure we don't tear them. Everything is nice and tender and ready to go. This produces a very delicately flavored, tender and delicious salmon. It's nice to be able to have local purveyors like Davy Jones Seafood to be able to get fresh, wild caught salmon, to know that they're catching it and bringing it to market in a totally sustainable way. So we're going to move on to the next portion of our video this evening. Our second aspect are our Hachiya Persimmons. They are organic and locally grown and seasonally available this time of year. They make an excellent complement to salmon. In a couple more months, figs will be available, and those will be a nice addition as well. I'm going to go ahead and throw our organic Hachiya Persimmons down. They are sweet and spicy. The thing with Hachiyas is you need to make sure that you pick them when they're very ripe and very soft. Otherwise, it's Hachiya Persimmons that are typically known for providing the unpleasant persimmon experience. We've actually macerated these in a little bit of triple sec, as well as some Desert Wildflower Honey that we've also picked up from a local purveyor made by bees. The subtleties of the floral notes in the Desert Wildflower Honey really go nicely with the orange notes to accentuate the both sweet and spicy characteristics of the Hachiya Persimmons. And the orange note will also be an excellent counterpoint to the salmon. We're really looking forward to the deliciousness of these persimmons. So our Hachiya Persimmons are almost finished cooking. When they do, we're going to go ahead and place on the salt block our wild baby asparagus. And there you have the theme of our entire meal this evening: our wild sockeye salmon, our local organic Hachiya Persimmons that have been macerated in triple sec, as well as Desert Wildflower Honey, our baby wild asparagus, and it'll all be plated up with our long grain wild rice. So let's go wild is the theme. We appreciate you joining us here at Go Pound Salt, and remember, when you do, happiness is just a lick away.